What is up, everyone on YouTube? And today we have another tier list for you guys because actually a lot of people were wondering, and I think this is one of the areas of content or topics rather that people don't really know too much about because they're less discussed. And we're going to be talking all about the 4-star Moonlight, Light, and Dark units. And we're basically talking about these units overall in the general sense for both PvE and PvP combined. I think for Moonlight units, usually they are more centered around PvP in general, so they will be more weighted towards PvP. But we're going to be talking about all of the Moonlight 4-star units because after this patch ends, which is currently going on as of this recording, you'll be able to make your own custom Mystic Summon banner where you can choose a Moonlight 5-star and a 4-star to actually summon for with the pity carrying over from the last banner and to the next. And so we have all the units separated here into 4 tiers. We have the best picks, only 2 units. These units are going to be the top of the top. Then we have the strong tier. These units are still very strong, just not as first picked in RTA like the best pick units or played on defense teams in Guild Wars. And then we have the niche units. These units are still good, but you have to pick them as like a counter pick or into certain units for them to actually reach their maximum potential. And the not worth it tier, these units are either not going to be good at all or unavailable, such as Free Spirit Terraria. So moving on, let's start with the 2 best picks. It should be no surprise to anyone who plays PvP somewhat. You probably see them all the time in Guild Wars defense, you see them all the time in World Arena, and they're constantly banned in World Arena as well. And you'll also see them frequently in Arena as well on defense teams. And that is going to be Moon, Bunny, Dominion, and Angel of Light, Angelica. So let's talk about Moon, Bunny, Dominion. I think she's the best 4-star now because she counters a lot of openers, very good against Conquer Ilias. She kind of stopped Conquer Ilias from getting first picked, which is insane because Conquer Ilias was first picked pretty much most matches in RTA or second picked for about like 2 years now after release, and Moon Bunny Dominion's buff kind of stopped it. She's also decent against Lua and Noggle, and she's good against any opener with non-attack skills. So in Guild Wars defense, if you fight Conquer Ilias, you pretty much always bring Moon Bunny Dominion. She's very good against her. If you fight a unit such as Ran, she's also very good against Ran because Ran's S2 will trigger her passive, which will give your entire team immunity and a skill nullifier. And just anything with a non-attack skill, she is extremely good against. And even then, if you play her in World Arena and people don't use their non-attack skill, Moon Bunny Dominion's S3 is so powerful because she can actually attack buff your team and CR push. And I know I'm saying non-attack skill, I think it's an extra turn actually, but most extra turns are built into non-attack skills, if you get what I'm saying. But anyways, yeah, she's very good. Even without her passive activating, she's very strong. Her S1 sleep is really strong, and she actually counters a lot more units than you think. You think she counters more openers, which she does, but she actually counters units like Lionheart Sturmia because of her S3. She will actually trigger Moon Bunny Dominion's S2, and even like Spectre Tenebria. So a lot of units that actually can get countered by her, and she's very strong. Next, we have Angel of Light, Angelica. This should not surprise anyone either. Ever since her release, she's been known as the toxic unit of FX7. She has that AoE Dispel, the Silence, the Unbuffable, and on top of that, she has utility for her team with AoE Skill Nullifier, an AoE Cleanse, and also she CR pushes every time an ally gets hit, and she also has that Silence with that CR pushback. Just an overloaded kit. I don't really know how you make her not strong. Her kit is just so overloaded, and even though Smilegate has tried time and time again to release cleansers to counter her, we had like a period where we only had cleansers, right, being released. She is still the top of the top because you can build her in so many ways. If you want to counter cleansers, you just build her slower and have her go after the cleansers, and you put on her some effect resistance, some bulkiness. Some Angel of Lights are like 200 to 220 speed, very bulky with super high effectiveness. Some are like 270 speed, very fast, high effectiveness. You never know what you're fighting against, which makes her very versatile, and that is why she's one of the best picks to choose from. Okay, so let's now go into the strong tier. These units aren't as oppressive as the best pick units, but they're still very strong. You use them all the time. So first up, I have Watcher Shuri. Now, in RTA, if you're not a cleaver or a speed demon or speed contesting, playing like Ran and stuff like that, like Zeo, and just anything that's fast, you're not going to really use Watcher Shuri. But if you do like to speed contest, he's very good. If, for example, you pick like a Conquer Ilias and people try to race you with like Ran, and you're not really a speed player, if you pick Watcher Shuri, you still have a chance to outspeed because of his imprint, which makes him very good. Speed imprint, best imprint in the game for speed contesters, obviously. So he's very good in RTA because of that. And in Guild Wars offense, he's one of the best units. One, the speed imprint makes it so that you can secure that you take the first turn in Guild Wars, which is very important. And also his S3 will one-shot a ton of units. Abyssal Euphenia gets one-shot. Just any like Soul Weaver get one-shot, right? His S3 hits super hard, and he doesn't really need that much setup. He just needs to be like 250 speed. You need someone to go before him, which is very easy with his imprint, and he just one-shots. So very powerful unit in that regard. Very consistent in Guild Wars, and one of my most favorite units to use in Guild Wars offense. Watcher Shuri can also be used in Hunt one-shots for Katie's and Azamnak, the two Hunts that are harder to one-shot, so he's very good in PvE as well. Next we have Tempest Surin. So Tempest Surin, after her buff, she's actually pretty decent with her exclusive equipment. I think she's a very good counter to teams that don't have ways to hit her twice in a row or have extra attacks, which is not too many, right? Like Zio will always destroy her, Karina will always destroy her, Lone Crescent Bologna can do well with her counter attacks. You have to be careful, but in scenarios where they don't have that much double attacks or stuff like that, she's very good. Also very good into units like Spectre Tenebria. Her Soulburn S3, if you get Alexa's Basket, can one-shot her if she doesn't have any mitigation, which is insane. I think she's pretty strong. Honestly, I think I rate her a little bit high. She should be somewhere around like here, to be honest. But I'm going to keep her this high up because I think she's a very annoying unit to play against. And even in Guild Wars offense, you can use her to bait a lot of dark units, and she's very strong, such as like Apoc Robbie, right? Next, we have Sinful Angelica. Pretty strong unit for Hunt one-shot for Wyvern. Pretty much need her for Wyvern Hunt one-shot. If you don't have her, building your team will be a lot more unit-specific, a lot more gear-specific, stat-specific. But Sinful Angelica makes it really easy. She has that dual attack on her S1 for the boss, and also that attack buff and speed buff to make speed tuning even easier for the first wave in the boss. Also, she's good in PvP. I think she's very underrated, but she stops revives. It's very similar to Briar Witchesaria when her S3 is up, but she kind of runs the problem where she's pretty squishy, but you have to run her on high effect resist so her immortality doesn't get stripped. So because of that, people don't really like using her because they have to put her on weird gear, but in the right circumstances for cleavers and also for Guild Wars offense, she can be very strong, and I think she's pretty underrated. Next, we have Last Piece Karin. So honestly, she's still a strong unit, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a unit that just does what she does, but better, and that is going to be an RGB 5-star, that's Zahhak. Because Last Piece Karin is basically used to counter evasion, same with Zahhak, but Zahhak is just going to do more damage, easier to build, and honestly, his S1 hits way harder, and he also has an attack buff for another ally. So honestly, Last Piece Karin isn't as good comparatively to Zahhak, but she's still a good unit. If you want to use her because she's waifu, you don't have her, you should definitely go for her and pretty much just use her against evasion. For me, if I end up pulling on the spanner, I'm going to actually pick Last Piece Karin. She's the only 4-star I don't have, which is insane for how long I've been playing, but she's always avoided me, so I'm going to definitely be going for Last Piece Karin. Next, we have Crimson Armin, solid knight, one of the best mitigators in the game behind Arowell. She always has been that way. She's just, not as flashy, so she goes under the radar. She literally just stands there, soaks damage for your team, and puts invincibility, and that's it. But that's still pretty strong, honestly. You can actually use her in certain comps with like Maid Chloe, and she's very good. But I think if you like to play turn 2 and very slowly and like to protect one carry for PvP, you can use her in RTA or World Arena. And in Guild Wars offense, she is not that bad as a dark bait. So next we have the niche units here. We're going to talk about their niche very quickly and where you want to use them. So Inferno Kawazu, only good against something that can trigger his passive. So any teams with a lot of AoE, you can use him against Navy Captain Landy, Last Rider Crow, he's pretty good. Wander Silk, good as a speed contester. She has the highest speed imprint in the game, one of the highest I think, and you can use her also very fast to speed contest, but 14 speed extra on another unit or 2 units is insane. So if you're speed contesting, similar to Watcher Shuri, she's one of the best options. Assassin Sid, he is the fastest unit in the game, tied with some, and he's very, very good because he can disrupt a lot of openers. The only problem is he gets countered by Zio, also gets countered by Guiding Light. So yeah, there's not a lot of uses for him anymore, but in the old days, he was very powerful against like Payras and Rands. If you actually face Payras and Rands and you want to speed contest them, you can use Assassin Sid. Just be careful, Rands nowadays can be faster than Assassin Sid. Assassin Sid, you still need to be very, very fast on it. Next, we have Infinite Horizon Acades. Good against debuffs, openers. She's a cleanser, right, that can convert debuffs into buffs. Very gimmicky, a lot of RNG. I'm not a big fan of her, but some people like to use her. If you high roll, she's very good. If you low roll, she's literally useless. You might as well use a different cleanser. But yeah, she's a cleanser, and she can be used against high debuff openers. Kitty Clarissa, good against Abyss and Ancient Inheritance. That is pretty much it, but she's extremely good there. For Abyss, you actually kind of need her. She is so good in the high floors, like from 100 to 120ish. So you definitely want to make sure you have her built. If you use her with Adventure Ross and Tamarin Regard, you can cheese through pretty much all the hard floors very easily. So you definitely want to make sure you have her for Abyss once you actually get there. Assassin Cartusia, part of evasion teams. Evasion's just not that good right now because sleep counters it. Also, last piece Karin, Bryo Cesarea, Zahak. So if you want to use him, sure, there's a lot of RNG involved, but I don't think it's worth it. Benevolent Roman, right after his buffs, he was super hot, and then he kind of, dropped off a cliff, but still a fun unit. A lot of RNG as well with the silence and stuff. Kind of a more inconsistent version of Angel White, I'd say, but still pretty powerful for Guild Wars defense because of the RNG. Bad Cat Armin, very fun to use in certain comps where you're using something in the front line that does a ton of damage, but very gimmicky. I think she's just okay as a knight. She's just not that great. There's just better knights out there that can do either more damage or mitigate more damage, right? Troublemaker Crozet, primarily just a cleave counter with his S2 and the CR push-up. Blaze Dingo, a PvE unit, very good overall, just a jack of all trades. Auxiliary Lots and Challenger Dominion, both can be used in cleave. Auxiliary Lots can be used in PvE for Ice Expedition, I believe, he's very good. Challenger Dominion is going to be used in cleave, but be careful, she has non-attack skills, so she gets countered a lot. And also she really relies on crits, and there's a lot of anti-crit now, so it's harder to use her. Blood Blade Karin, mostly a cleave counter for the most part on high effect resist. She can one-shot cleave teams at like 1 HP with her immortality with her S3. General Purgus, I think he is pretty underrated. He is also a cleave counter, but he's also a decent attack buffer. I was kind of memeing, and last season I was picking him as the first pick just to see what would happen, and he was not that bad. He has that AoE stun, he has that CR push, and there's a ton of AoE damage that is just built into people's kits, like Abyss Lufine, Navy Captain Landy, like Ocean Breeze Luca, and so forth. So you're actually going to be constantly pushing your team. I think he's pretty underrated. Honestly, I wanted to put him here because I love this unit, but I think he's not as strong as before in the current meta, but he's still a decent pick. Has attack buff as well, which is very nice. And then Fighter Maya, going to be used mostly in Guild Wars offense to one-shot units with that Rocket Punch Gauntlet. Very cheesy, but she does what she does pretty well in Guild Wars offense, which is one-shot things and never dies. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this Mythic Summon event 4-star unit tier list. If you guys have any questions or discrepancies, let me know in the comments down below. And when the event starts, actually let me know in the comments down below what you guys actually chose for your banner. Peace.